Hey everybody, John Michael Bailey Injury Lawyers. Today we're going over Chapter 2 of the 2 + 2 = I'm Hurt book. This is going to deal with front end collisions, how you can be hurt not only today, but for the rest of your life, and most important, what that insurance adjuster doesn't want you to know. Lots of information, lots to learn. Stick around. Let's go. Hey everybody, John Michael Bailey Injury Lawyers. Today we're going to be going over front-end collisions. Let me get the disclaimer stuff out of the way. I am a lawyer. I've been practicing for 45 years. I've seen, handled, tried thousands of cases. I've won millions of dollars from my clients. I am sharing this information so that you can protect yourself from the greedy insurance company. I am a lawyer. I'm not your lawyer, but I'd love to look at your case. And if you want us to look at your case, we'd love to help you. And if you would like us to do that, you can follow these links here. It'll take you straight to the website and we can begin that process. Or if you're the impatient type, you can pick up the phone and call me right now at 888-WE-FIGHT and we'll get started immediately on your case. With all that out of the way, let's get started. So we're going to start right now with a front end collision. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the driver, the front seat passenger, and the rear seat passengers on both sides. Now, this is a front end collision, which means it's going to be right across here, across the front of the car. But there's different types of front end collisions. Sometimes it's on this angle right here. Sometimes it's on this angle right here. Sometimes it's straight ahead. There's also, you could actually run into somebody. It's called a T-bone. If somebody runs a stop sign and you're driving down the road, so that would be a front end, or you could strike them at this angle or that angle. And the reason I bring this up is the mechanism of the collision determines the mechanism of the injury. Yes, let me repeat that. The mechanism of the collision determines the mechanism of the injury. How you were hit, how hard you were hit, determines how much force goes through the car. It's got to go somewhere, right? It doesn't go out in outer space. It goes into your body with predictable results. But the insurance adjuster doesn't want you to know that. The insurance adjuster doesn't want to know how hard you were hit, how badly you were hurt, and wants to get out of paying what they should rightfully pay you for the injuries that were put on you through no fault of your own. So with this knowledge, you can help protect yourself. Let's get into it. You're the front seat driver in a front end collision, and let's just talk about just full straight head-on collision. What's going to happen? Well, let's get Skinny the skeleton to help us. And Skinny's going to show that if he's sitting here like this, just like this on a front end collision, well, the first thing that's going to happen is Skinny is going to go, let me move him up a little bit closer. Skinny is going to go forward just like this. And when Skinny goes forward, let me turn it this way so you can see that all the muscles, the ligaments, and the tendons are all stretched and torn coming forward. Skinny's head is likely to hit either the A-pillar, and I'll show you what that is in a minute. If his head goes that way, he'll either hit the A-pillar and cause damage, which I'll talk about in a minute, or more likely the airbag is going to go off and that's going to hit him full in the face, and we'll talk about what happens to him then. His seatbelt is going to catch him right here on the shoulder, and that is going to cause a rotator cuff injury. It happens. It's predictable. No adjuster ever wants to hear the words rotator cuff injury. They hate it. They really don't want to pay for it. And then finally, your knees will most likely hit the dashboard and cause knee problems. I'm going to go ahead and tell you that that's probably the same sequence that's going to happen to you if you are a front seat passenger. Instead of hitting the steering wheel and the A-pillar on the driver's side, you are more likely to either hit the dashboard or to have the airbag, if that airbag is turned on, come out and hit you in the face. And instead of you having rotator cuff issues with your left shoulder, you're going to have rotator cuff issues with your right shoulder. So, and again, the knees will hit the dashboard. So let's go over that series of injuries and let's talk about what all can happen to you. So let's start with the skull. Let's don't let the skull go rolling off the set. So here's the skull, okay? And as you can tell, God designed our skull to ward off blows, but what God didn't design our skulls to prevent is injuries from car wrecks and what happens to the brain inside. When you have a front end collision of any force or impact at all, or if you are hit with the airbag, you need to check for a concussion. A concussion is a brain injury, period. Let me repeat that. A concussion is a brain injury. Don't let the adjuster tell you any different. Don't let the adjuster tell you, oh, go lay down, take an ibuprofen, and you'll feel better. Well, first of all, ibuprofen interferes with the clotting of the blood. And if you have a head injury and a brain bleed, and the adjuster tells you that to take an ibuprofen, the adjuster is making things worse. So don't listen. No adjuster is a doctor. Don't listen to them when they tell you what you need from a medical standpoint. Anyway, let me get off my soapbox. So let's look at what happens in the brain. So either through an airbag or if you strike something with your head, let me take this off here and show you right up through here, the very first part and the front part. These are our frontal lobes. This is where our decision-making, our executive decision is. And so that's why, in football, we used to call it getting our bell rung. We couldn't really think. Everything seemed to be not real. We were like lost in space and time. That's because there had been a crisis within the systems and processes of our frontal lobe. Now, this can last longer than you think. And so it's very important, and you need to get it checked out. If you hit the A or B pillar, then you will have damage here along the side. Same thing over here. Now, let me take this out. This is Ralph, by the way, and he's one of those guys. If he had a brain, he'd take it out and play with it. Now, while this right here might be smooth, if I took my finger and I whipped it around on the inside of the skull right here and pulled it up, I would come up with a bloody finger. And when you have trauma that shakes your brain violently, your brain bleeds. Let me show you something else. There's a top half and a bottom half of your brain. This top half of your brain right here will move back and forth if your head is shaken violently, and all of the little blood vessels and microcapillaries in here will break and they will bleed within the brain. Why does that happen? Well, let's look. Let's take this bottom half of the brain and put it back into the skull, and you can see that it fits inside the skull as though the skull were a cup. Just like that, just like a cup. In fact, many despots from the Middle Ages, when they would conquer their enemies, they would take their enemy's skull and make it a goblet. And that's because it's shaped like a cup. And you can tell the brain comes down right below the nose. And then this part right here, when the brain is shaken violently back and forth, will move forward like this and then back, creating what is known as a brain shear. And the brain bleeds within the brain. We can find it through a special kind of MRI called the DTI. But the problem is, when the brain swells, there's no place for that swelling to go. So when the brain reabsorbs that blood, it leaves a hole in your brain, just like Swiss cheese. Yes, I said that. When your brain reabsorbs the blood, it leaves a hole in your brain. That's why brain bleeds, concussions, any type of brain injury or potential brain injury is very, very dangerous and must be taken seriously. But the adjuster doesn't want you to know that. The adjuster doesn't want you to check that out. He just wants you to suffer in silence, so he doesn't have to pay you what he ought to pay you for the injuries that you suffered. And instead, he can go take these little trips to the beach and drink those little fruity drinks with the umbrella in it. That's how it works, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't stand up and fight for what you deserve and what is rightfully yours, you're not going to get it. Again, you need to see a trauma-trained law firm like John Michael Bailey Injury Lawyers and get the treatment from trauma-trained doctors, not your regular doctor. They're not trained in trauma. I call them Dr. Sniffles and Dr. Flu. I love him. I love my doctor. He's a great doctor. Love him to death, but he is not trauma-trained. So you need a trauma-trained law firm and you need trauma-trained medical personnel. And the adjuster will never tell you that because he doesn't want you to know that. While we have Ralph the skull here, let's talk about TMJ. This right here is your jaw joint. It moves back and forth. This is the most used joint in the human body. Every time that you breathe, talk, yawn, chew, eat, this is the joint that you use. If you get hit with an airbag, or if your head hits the steering wheel, or if your head hits the A pillar on either side, you're going to have a potential impingement, and you will know this. There will be a popping and a clicking. You'll get headaches that are radiating through your through the base of your neck and through your jawbone. This is very important, and you need to take care of it and make sure you get treatment. Additionally, let's talk about the rotator cuff injuries. When you have that strap coming across you, you're going to have rotator cuff issues, and the ligaments and everything through here. Let me get this where everybody can see it. And the ligaments and tendons through here and the interior processes of the joint are impinged and injured, and sometimes require surgery. Sometimes it can be done with rest, physical therapy, and things like that. Sometimes it requires surgery, but no adjuster is ever going to tell you that. So concussions, TMJ, rotator cuff injuries. And let's move on to the knee. When your knee hits the dashboard, it's supposed to work like that. It may not. You're going to have a disorder inside the interior of the knee, and you're going to have your ligaments, anterior and posterior. You're going to have your meniscus. All these things are impacted, and if you don't understand how you were hurt, you won't know how to relate them to the doctor. You won't be able to tell the doctor about them and relate them to the accident. And if you don't do that, you're not going to get compensated. Now, let's go back to the whiplash and ligament laxity that you're going to have. Let me get a cervical spine up here. When your head goes forward, you can see that's a massive stretching. Ligaments, tendons, muscles, they're all torn. They're not going to be able to do the job that God intended for them to do. And then when your head goes flying back, you can see, once again, you can see ligaments and tendons all the way through here. You're going to have a lot of injury. And if you have ligament laxity in any of these ligaments that I've talked about, those ligaments never, ever, 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 ever go back to the way they were. It's going to be a permanent stretching, and you're always going to have problems with it. But again, that adjuster is not going to tell you that. He's going to tell you, I'll take it easy for a few days. No reason for me to write you a check. No reason for me to worry about any doctor bills, because you're going to be okay. Don't believe him. You're hurt. We know you're hurt. Let's get you the treatment that your injury deserves and get you the compensation you deserve. Finally, let me close with this and say, when you get too much of a stretching, you can get disc impingement. This right here is a good illustration of that. You can see when the discs are compressed, you can see how the disc itself moves. And if you get too much of it, you can see right over here, I hope this is coming through. I'm gonna put my finger on it. It looks like right here, it looks like a child blowing a bubble with bubble gum. But if I let it go back down, you can see right there, that's the nerve root. That's what the impingement is. That's why you get the numbness and the tingling run up and down your arms and legs if it's in your neck, or in your arms and hands if it's in your neck, or through your legs if it's in your lumbar and sacral area. So this is just an overview. And again, a couple of things. These are basically the same injuries that you're going to have, just in a little bit different manner in the back seat, because you're going to hit you're going to hit the back of the front seat. You're going to hit your knees are going to hit the console, or they're going to hit the B pillar, or they're going to hit the backs of the seats. Now let me just show you what I'm talking about. This right here is the A pillar. Right here is part of the structure of the car, the strength of the car. This is the B pillar, the one in the middle, and the back here is the C pillar. So when I talk about that, that's what I mean. So all of these things, knowing how you were hit, with what force you were hit, helps us know where you're going to be hurt, helps us get you the treatment that you need so you can be compensated for your injuries. But remember, the insurance industry's stance on every accident is if you're hurt, you're going to go to the doctor. So what does that mean? First of all, you've got to know that you were hurt. Second, you've got to go to the doctor. You've got to relate the injury to the doctor, relate the injury to the doctor and relate it to the wreck. And don't use qualifying language like I might have heard it in the wreck, because if you do that, the insurance adjuster is going to say, look, your client doesn't even know how he was hurt. Why should I have to write him a check? So if it wasn't hurting before the wreck and it's hurting after the wreck, it's from the wreck. You're going to have to do what the doctor says. You're going to have to complete the treatment that the doctor tells you to take. And if you do that, forget about the money. Let's talk about you getting back as good as you can get. Chances are you're not going to get back to 100%. You're going to have an impairment rating. You're entitled to that. You deserve that. But if you don't fight for it, you're not going to get it. So let me wrap up by saying, here at John Michael Bailey Injury Lawyers, we're trauma trained. This is what we do. We handle injury cases all day, every day. If you want us to look at your case, again, you can follow this link. We'll be happy to look at your case. If you want us to get started on your case right away, pick up the phone, call me right now, 888-WE-FIGHT. We're open 24/7, 365. We never close. Our motto is, if you're hurting, we're working. And remember, who are you going to call when you want to get it all? John Michael Bailey Injury Lawyers. So finally, and if you got any questions, comments, or anything like that, please leave it down below. We'll do everything we can to answer every question, or if you have an idea of another type of video you want us to do, we'd be happy to look at that too. So let me close by saying, again, like, subscribe. We're trying to keep that grumpy old man algorithm and his grumpy girlfriend analytics happy. So please like, subscribe, tell all your friends to share this. We're a new channel trying to get this information out. Could use all the help we can get. Finally, let me say, thank you for listening. Thank you for sticking around. I hope you found this useful. And if you can hear my voice, I wish you peace and joy. And as always, I hope to talk to everyone real soon. 888-WE-FIGHT.